Shared services as a concept has actually moved on quite considerably. In the past, it was all about centralising the activities, taking a certain amount of benefit from reducing headcount in the various affiliates, etc., then standardising, then automating. It's moved on from there. We don't have the luxury of time or cost of being able to centralise and just set up a new team with loads of people, etc. And so a lot of the challenges that we've had from the point of view of concept for shared services is how do we get to the automation piece faster? How do we cut out that middle bit where we lose 1 or 2 years of centralising and going from there? So, and NEC Europe is relatively small in the dynamic of the NEC corporation world. I think we were probably around about 3,500 employees in Europe. We're 140,000 in Japan. I mean, I think we're still in the top 375 largest corporations in the world, but our European representation is relatively meagre in comparison. But we're a global organisation. We have an operation in America as well. And underlying and undersitting under all of this is an up-and-coming global SAP launch as well. So there's revolution, for want of a better word, but it's all positive stuff. I think NEC has woken up to the fact that it needs to move away from its very decentralised module of every affiliate having its own internal one for every part of the job. And so 2 years ago they restructured the European office to be more of a European-style business, in that we would have a central finance and accounting team, a budgetary control team, and a shared service unit. But there was still an expectation that we could do something and take out some of the underlying costs. So I was brought in to look at that. And two things really leapt off the page as to what the opportunities were. We were wasting a lot of time on our T&E, and our most significant repetitive activity was invoice posting and invoice payment. We were doing that in volumes around every affiliate. We can't get away from it. It's one of those things that is a burden to most businesses. And the model that we produced is effectively that we will have scanning locally in 8 of our or 9 of our affiliates remotely. We solve the problem of all of the normal difficulties we have of we must keep the paper, etc., etc. So the design has been effectively sympathetic to that requirement. We would then manage it from the centre. We would do the workflow from the centre, and we'd be able to manage the whole of the invoice posting for all of Europe from a central point, so that effectively we would get to the automation and the benefit of automation, and take the benefit of the reduction in headcount and the sheer physical cost of this non-value-add activity. That was the design. We went out to the marketplace. We saw a number of products, many of which were SAP, and at that time our only requirement was SAP. So we designed this, we put it together. We then found out that there was other opportunities in the group that were also interested. Our displays operation, which is roughly as big as the same processing numbers we have here, and also our unified solutions, which used to be called NEC Philips, a joint venture with Philips in the Netherlands. The unified solutions has been one of the more significant drivers as to why we went the brainware route. Basically, our initial calculations, our initial evaluations, our initial designs were wrapped around the NEC Europe piece. That NEC Europe piece is small volumes. It's 40,000 invoices, no more than that. But because of the very diversified nature, we'd have somebody doing half a day of that and half a day of this. And we felt that in the round we could make something out of that. And that then sets its own requirements, is that the senior executives here are looking to get some return out of unified solutions. The challenge is that they currently aren't in SAP. They are in 3 or 4 different legacy systems. It is unlikely they'll go into global SAP until we've done global SAP, which may take 1, 2, 3 years' time. And so now we've got this challenge. We want the benefit, but we haven't got the systems. And Brainware was the only one that we saw that could actually accommodate SAP and other systems. It was agnostic. It could deal with, if the will was there, it could be done. And that was quite critical for us. The other issue was the quality of the operation and the service that was coming with it, and also the speed of turnaround. We have an EIS department centrally within NEC, but within that they have been downsizing and restructuring, and a lot of their work now goes out. So there is a limit on what kind of finite resources they've got. So it's quite critical from the evaluation stage that they were on board for making sure that they were comfortable with the deployment. And again, we sat down with 2 or 3 just with IT. The IT guys just sat there, listened to what was being said, came away from that, and they too put a tick in the box with Brainware. So that's how we got here. As I say, it's relatively simplistic in its logic, Whether we will enjoy the same simplicity on the deployment, we'll find out. But the whole idea is that we will load it centrally. We will control it centrally. The product will be enjoyed in the affiliates on an international basis. So, certainly from the point of view of its structure, it's already created some interest, let's say. I think from the announcement of us doing the deal with Brainware, I've probably had 2 or 3 inquiries from other organisations either wanting me to go and talk about it, not least of which, how do you get to the decision and what do you expect to get out of it, but also other operations that are thinking about it. We're looking at it, what do you think we should do? So it's very much of the moment. I think it's very much a cutting edge thing. It's perfect timing for the industry, as in the shared service industry, but it's also very, very perfect for NEC. But it's one of those things now where we have to be open-minded. We can't sit there and say, right, this is how NEC does it, have you got a product that fits? We've had to go to the marketplace, find the products that are out there, and then reconsider internally, how do we need to change to actually get the most return out of that? Now with Brainware, we know we can get a return if we stay as we are. But we also know we can get a much bigger return if we change. Hence why we spent the last 6 months redesigning our SAP, redesigning various process modules, and we're currently out with all our countries sitting there testing all these various processes as a preliminary before we actually start loading and start testing the Brainware product. I think the key ones were very much the speed of implementation. As I said, we had to get IT on board. That was critical from the point of view of how much time would we be bogged down on resourcing. But no, the key elements were very much the data capture. Yeah, I mean, I went out on 2 site visits, can't remember now, but basically to see the thing in action, to actually to go to the coalface and actually talk to the people who are using it and saying, right, we've heard the salesman talk about this, what's your actual experience? And that was extremely useful. So we actually got some real-time experience of how people have managed to get and what kind of returns they were getting and what their expectations were. And we've taken that and sat and said, okay, that's possible, but we want to ratchet that up. We want to get a much higher return much quicker, so that forces us to go and do something. So that was quite important. As I say, the opportunity of doing something in Japan was also another driver. But the key ones were, as I say, that the deployment, the data capture is massive. The other thing is the line pairing. We could not find another product that actually could match that, and that for us is very important. We want to reduce the amount of touch. The amount that's going into that workstation needs to reduce week on week on week. We have very aggressive ambitions to get it down to everything going through on a straight pass-through. So we know we've got to start at point A. Our point B is very aggressive, but by the re-engineering that we are forcing ourselves to do to make the product work, I think we'll get there. And I think that's the key. We had to be open-minded about changing as an organisation. But no, as I say, the data capture and line pairing does not have a comparison in the marketplace.